There are references to Tantra in the Human Design Matrix, and this word Tantra is derived from ancient Indian practice that dates back more than 5,000 years. In Sanskrit, the word Tantra means woven together. But Tantra, it's not just about sexual pleasure, it's more about celebrating one's body and feeling that heightened sensuality. So Tantra really is referring to an energetic goal to move sexual energy to a state of higher awareness. And of course, Tantra techniques include breathing, yoga, meditation. All of these increase the so-called sexual energy. But in fact, those practicing tantric techniques, they know it's about following the path to this overall goal of freeing the soul and expanding the consciousness through higher love, through higher connectivity. And this mechanically is in the Human Design Matrix. And these Tantra channels, it's nothing to do with the reproductive effort. Reproduction, the raw sexuality of the Sacral Center, is coming through the procreation of the intimacy channel, and ultimately the progeny are cared for through the 2750, the preservation channel. This is our human sexual reproductive process. Whereas Tantra in the sacral sense emerges through the 5, the 14 and the 29. And from the sacral perspective, these are not overtly sexual gates. They're not. But it's a recognition that the sacral energy, this life force energy, is always looking for its higher identity. And thus there are 3 ways that this higher identity can move. The higher state of love has 3 variations. The Tantra of logic is the rhythm channel, the 515 channel. This is the higher state of loving humanity. That's the ultimate higher state of love that can come through that logical process. The Tantra of the abstract coming through the 2946, the channel of discovery. This is the higher state of love through loving the body. And the Tantra of individuality comes through the beat channel, the pulse. The 14 to the 2 is the higher state of ultimately loving oneself. And because the self-center is the center of direction, it's where the magnetic monopole lives in the second gate. Well, direction and Tantra is individual. It's about the capacity and the potential to mutate the other person, and so mutate love. So this means to mutate love in the other through love. You know very well when somebody is romantic with you, they're putting their aura into you, no doubt lots of electromagnetics as well, but nonetheless you're going to respond to that romantic inclination. So that romance has a mutative quality to it, the fluttering of the eyes, the knowing look. Passion is infectious. So in terms of Tantra and Tantra relative to human design, it's really the raising of the physical capacity of sexuality, the raw sacral center, to a higher level. And the higher level is the empowerment of these higher levels of love in the cell center. And the reason why traditional Tantra is not really talking about sexuality, sexual intercourse, sexual touching. It's because by its very nature, the love in Tantra actually diminishes the value of the pure sexuality. As I mentioned, the genetic strategy of our human form is fulfilled from the 59 to the 6 and the 2750. So these Tantra gates, well, they're not part of that sexual process. But these 3 channels carry with them, or within them, the essence of love. because they are the channels through which this capacity to take the raw reproductive power that's in the Sacral Center up to its empowerment of higher states in the self. And these three ways are the three energy circuits represented here. Logic through the channel of rhythm, this universal channel to all life forms. If you look at other designs of forms, insects, mammals, reptiles, birds and so on, they all have a rhythm channel because it represents the individual cell. So it's the basis of life itself. It's the pattern and the rhythm creating that flow of life through the cells. The discovery channel, the abstract, really is a focus on the process of success in life. Of course, that means failure too, but it's about being able to triumph in the luck of what life is. And out of that, having wonder, discovering love, this tantric love for the form that you've been blessed with. And of course, in the center here is the beat channel, the individual process, the endless process of mutation and mutating direction. This is the column that ultimately changes everything and brings a mutative direction to all of our lives.